thank you for agreeing to have this conversation, just talking a little bit about creativity in business, so that we can begin to dive a little bit deeper into the topic and maybe give maybe whet people's appetites a little bit about what's going to come on the day.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much for hosting the call and opening the conversation. We already have some really good people coming to our event in London, so it's going to be a lot of fun with good people in the room. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And actually, it just feels like it's such a beautiful creation, actually, to get the opportunity to be able to. It feels for me like playing with you, Steve, and being able to be of service to other people in terms of being able to, I guess, share some of the stuff that I've learned from you about creativity in business. And I know that for me, that's really made a difference in not just in my business, but in my world.
Well, thank you for saying that. I've learned a lot from a lot of people myself. So we're just kind of paying it forward to people in business and people who want to access more creativity in their business, so they're not just waking up and reacting to problems all day.
And so when I was thinking about talking with you, I was thinking around, okay, so, sometimes for some people in business, it can be very kind of like a logical, rational experience for many people. And some people may see creativity as being very connected with the arts.
Yes.
Rather than being in business. So just share with me a little bit, how do you begin to talk to people about creativity in business, and why does it matter?
Well, it matters a great deal because creativity is really, whether people see it or not, it's really what moves a business forward. And it can apply even on the most basic practical level. So for example, I like to work with people in business on their choice between reacting and creating, just starting right there. So if someone gets an email from someone in the business or a customer or a client, and they have an emotional reaction, the ego reacts like, oh, I have to defend myself, or I'm feeling a little annoyed by this email, I have to be defensive. If they would take a moment, take a breath, and understand their creative nature, they can ask themselves, what kind of a relationship do I want to create with the person who emailed me? And they reflect for just 1 second. They think, oh, well, I want a good partnership with this person. I want to show goodwill, compassion, kindness, courtesy. And so I'm not going to react to what they said. I'm going to acknowledge what they said and come back with some kindness or a request for a conversation or whatever I do, keeping the overall relationship in mind I want to create here. So that just in that one little example of receiving an email that triggers you, so to speak, you can have a creative response, or you can have a reaction to it, which is defensive and actually has the relationship now be worse than it was before. So even on that really mini level, that small practical level, throughout the day, we can keep looking to creativity as opposed to how am I reacting? How is my ego being cautious and defensive? In relationships at work with customers and with internal customers, as some companies call it, people who work closely with me, do I want to create a trusting partnership type relationship, or do I want to keep reacting to this person?
And it's interesting, and I don't know what your experience is, and certainly talking from like my own experience, it's like, so when you're talking about, when we get caught in the ego thinking, and sometimes it's like, it's not like my ego is willing straight away to see a different possibility. So it almost feels like, for me, the more I've practiced it, the more that I can almost like acknowledge what's going on, but actually still be able to then choose beyond that in terms of like acting in integrity with what I say that I want to create, rather than being defensive and reactive and wanting to be right.
That's right. That's right. You can take that 2 seconds between habitual defensive egoic reaction to everything and come from creativity. And I love the way you use the word beyond, because that's really what it is. Our creativity lives beyond the ego. The egos don't create. They're false constructs to begin with. And so just becoming aware of that from moment to moment can really alter how I run my business, how I create customers. If I acknowledge that my customer base, my client base is created through my imagination, my conversation, my service to potential customers and clients, when I recognize creativity as available to me all day and the driving force in my business, everything turns around.
And what difference have you seen that make in people's lives that you've known and worked with?
Well, I've seen it. I see it make a difference every day. So my whole role in coaching, and for years I did training in businesses, and I would go in and do seminars in businesses on sales, how to create customers and clients. And I would do it also on leadership, how to create more trusting, functional relationships within the company. And so for me, every moment in the work I do is helping people wake up to their own creativity. And instead of having creativity be, like you said earlier, only existing in the arts and music and ballet, but it's there for everybody all day long.
And I love what you're saying there, because you're talking about when people wake up to their own creativity. So often in business, in my experience, it's like people are looking for either to blame someone outside of themselves or to look for like the solution outside. And when you're talking about waking up to our own creativity, what I'm really hearing you say is it's there inside us all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see it in children. When we were children, we were willing to create anything, to sing, dance, and paint, and do all these things. And then as we get older, we get locked into all this fear-based activity. And we're afraid of what people think of us. We're afraid of everything. And our creativity shuts down. So we don't perform at our highest level, and our businesses don't either. But when we wake back up to what's available creatively to everybody throughout business, for example, most people in business solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so they give all power to the problem. Now, I was taught by a great coach earlier in my life that whenever there was a problem, he would have me describe the problem like that was the game field. That was the game we're going to play. And then he would say, given this situation, what would you like to create? He never said, how do we solve this problem, which gives all power to the problem. He would return power to me and say, what would you like to create? A better relationship? Would you like to create a stronger sales team? What would you like to create given this so-called problem? And that always led us to a faster way to, quote, solve the problem, because we weren't so afraid of the problem anymore. And we're going to do that in our workshop. We're going to look at what's showing up as a problem or a challenge. And then rather than having that challenge or problem be frightening or intimidating, what do you want to create in the face of that would interact with that so-called problem in a way that would have it disappear or not be relevant anymore?
And I love actually, so in the book, I'm just reading something that a quote that I'd written down. In the book, you say, creativity turns things around faster than anything else. Can you say a little bit more around that? Because again, if somebody's approaching business from a very kind of like logical, rational kind of like, I guess, fear-based, the I know mind, again, it's like that could be something that makes them go faster than anything else, really. So can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, because I do respect logic, and
Hmm.
it can be used as a part of a creative answer to something. I don't want to rule it out, but um, really great ideas. You know, business people, people in life, even if they're not in a so-called business, they're a consultant or they're in a nonprofit. They always tell me they get their best ideas when they're on holiday, on vacation, if you're American, uh, and or in the shower. So what are we going to do? Are we going to install shower heads in our business?
That's called Glasgow.
Yeah, every sitting outdoors in the rain. Uh, everybody. So why is that though? And the answer is, in the shower on vacation, I'm not gripping all my fears and my worries, and my mind isn't just caught up in all those thoughts. Oh no, what if this could be bad? This, we need to solve this. We could lose everything. All those worrisome, fearful beliefs, those fade away when we're in the shower, or uh, and then intuitive ideas show up from a greater source of wisdom than the logical mind. And so why don't we, rather than have that be an accident once in a while, oh, I got this amazing idea of what we could do with this customer or with this client. I got this idea driving into work. I was listening to music, and all of a sudden it dropped in from I don't know where. Well, let's have that happen more often. Let's have that be how we operate. Let's have that be where we come from all day. And that's what we're going to look at in the workshop. Is that really possible to have creative ideas and insights and all these things, to set the stage for those throughout the day, so they're not just happy little accidents?
And I love that you're saying that because, you know, so there's so many ways I could go here. So I'm just thinking, okay, pick one. Um, so where that takes me is the idea of, like, you know, when you're talking about um, cultivating something so that it's not just an accident.
Right.
That takes me to something that you talk about in the book, and actually, Steve, I've heard you talk about this in person, and I love it. You know, it's like time and attention. So talk about time and attention and this idea of cultivating, please.
Yeah. So if I want something to grow, I want my customer base to grow, or I want trust and communication within my team to grow. Even if I want my own excitement about the business to grow, then the way to have that happen is to have my time and attention given to that in a relaxed, focused way. And these days, we are bombarded by so much information, and we're looking at our phones every 2 seconds, and it doesn't allow for a really great idea to arrive. So I think it's so important to live my day, and all my clients to live their day with creativity being the primary place we come from. And that's a very open place. That's just openness. I'm open. So if someone comes in to talk to me in my business, I'm not sitting there judging them and trying to figure out if they're right or wrong. I am open to understanding what they have to say. And that creates a better relationship. Even at, you know, this transfers to home life as well.
Absolutely.
People go home after a hard day at business, and they have a hard time relating to their family, and they're judgmental, they're critical, they're annoyed by someone not understanding how hard I work. But if that creativity and openness is cultivated by giving it time and attention, then it transfers to personal life as well.
And something that's really occurring to me as you're speaking there is that so often in business and in life, when we think there's somewhere to get to and we don't know, we want to speed up. I can't remember where I read this, but apparently, humans are the only species that actually, when we're lost, we go faster.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying that, I'm really hearing that, to somebody in business who's all about, well, I've got to get it done and I've got to try harder and like go faster because, we're running out of time or whatever it is. The idea of creativity could be a real paradox in some way, because what you're inviting people to is a different way of being in business.
Yes. Slow down and give time and attention to whatever it is you want to have grow. And that includes, there's an aspect of creativity that includes being willing and able to say no to things that get in the way of what you're up to. So I feel like I have to, I was coaching a leader of a business, and for some reason he thought he had to have an open door policy all day. People could walk in with the smallest complaints. And so he was scattered all day. He never gave himself time to slow down, close his office door, and ask himself, where do I want this business to go? What direction? And then what would have us go in that direction? He never gave himself the time to be on course for what he wanted to create. It was all firefighting and problem solving, and then it was a sense of I'm falling behind because he didn't say no. He couldn't say no to anybody. So part of creativity is not just creatively adding things, it's creatively cutting away. Like Michelangelo would see a big block of granite or whatever he carved from, and he would create something by cutting things away. And simplifying our business and simplifying what I'm up to during the day can be very creative.
And it's really interesting because that you say that. So just like a small share, it's like I'm often saying to my sister that she's not a human doing, she's a human being. Because we get so caught up in doing, we don't even look at what we're doing. But again, when you're saying that, I know that for some of the people I work with, it's like people almost wear busy like a badge of honor. So again,
Yes,
you're talking about no, and you're talking about the slowing down and simplifying.
that's right. Simplifying and staying on the path of what I want to create with my business instead of being distracted by all these trying to please everybody and being distracted all day, but really staying on the path of creating. And it's a completely different mindset that isn't normal and easy for people in business because they're always feeling like, oh, we're behind, I'm falling behind, I've got this big to-do list and I'll never get it all done. And so we drop into a worried mood and we're anxious, and when we're in that kind of a mood we don't create very well, and then we forget things and things are incomplete, and we have to go back and fix things and apologize for breaking agreements and things like that. So we're going to look at what can be created throughout the day to keep whatever business objective we have on course,
Mm.
so that your time and attention is actually being given to what you want to create throughout the day. Most people don't do that and they don't even realize it.
No, and I know certainly in my journey that actually integrity, like living as my word, was a really big thing in terms of the idea of creativity in business. So if I say that I'm wanting X and yet it's not happening, mean, one of the kick-ass questions I remember the first time I was in a room with you, and it's like, and you said, what is it you want and how are you keeping it out? And I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
but often people think that whatever it is that they want that they don't have, they think it's like something outside of them that's keeping it out. And so I'm really hearing you really kind of like giving people back to themselves and going, look, the power is within us.
Yes. Yeah, and we don't see it. We think it's out there somewhere, and we don't realize. So one of the things I like to do, when you talked about time and attention, someone says, let's say they're a consultant or coach like you and I are. They say, well, I don't have enough clients. I really need more clients. So I say, well, show me your calendar. Let's see how much time and attention you're giving during your day to cultivating new clients. And then they say, well, what do you mean? I don't know. And you look at the calendar and almost no time and attention is being given to what a person wants. And it's a real wake-up call for them. It's a beautiful thing. It's really not, it's not meant to be shaming, like, oh, you're doing it wrong.
No.
It's meant to be wake up, and a revelation, an opportunity. It's all opportunity based. And it's not correcting what's wrong.
No.
Because that's not creative.
No, and to be honest, it's like, it's back to that thing, you know, we're only ever doing the best with what we're believing. And if anybody was to believe thoughts are so impersonal that anyone believing that thought would have an experience of that thought. And the reason I'm chuckling is because I'm thinking, oh yeah, I never did that, Steve. Because the thing is, it looks like when we're really in the emotion of something, it looks so much more complicated than actually the beautiful simplicity that is always available in the present moment.
That's right. That's true. And you and I have both done Byron Katie's 9-day school. And one of the effects of that is it changes your relationship to your own thoughts and beliefs. So they're no longer permanent, truthful. And if I'm believing that this person is not really someone who cares about this company, if I label them that way, then my ability to get new agreements and change that is gone because I've already believed a thought about them. And so as your relationship to your own thoughts and beliefs starts to loosen up, and it's no longer, well, I believe that thought because I thought it. And I was talking to Byron Katie's daughter once, and she said, Roxanne, she said, it's the ultimate narcissism to believe every one of your thoughts because you thought it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I think this person is undermotivated and doesn't care about the business. And because that thought just popped in my mind, I believe it to be the truth because I thought it.
And I love that. It's how we create a whole universe out of that.
Yeah.
And how we don't even question that thought. And we are so kind of like justified about that thought. And we do it like, and the reason I'm laughing is because I am just back from like the school. And so that whole, like what you're talking about, I really feel like I'm in a space where I can see there's a thought that I believe.
Yes.
But I can also see it's not true. And it's
not true.
And so there's a whole space that opens up. And to be honest, that's something that for me, I guess I see that a little bit more, but there's such a beautiful freedom when it means that then it's not about, so if there's a worried thought, I don't have to believe to do that. I can really still choose to still kind of like take the action that's required in terms of like the project. And that's something for me that it took me a long time to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into that in our workshop in London. It's really exciting work to see that the automatic thoughts and beliefs that I put on myself to begin with I'm not good at this, I'm an introvert, I'm not a people person, and so we limit ourselves in what we believe about our own capacity to create. And then we limit other people because we have stories about them. And the next thing we know, we're all in straitjackets, trying to march through this difficult thing called business. And all of that can be replaced with freedom.
And it's so beautiful because actually the whole thing is, people are often looking to the outside world for everything to change. But when we start to change on the inside, then the world begins to change. And it does look like it's as if by magic. But when we change, it changes. And so often people are looking for it to change and then I'll change.
Yes, absolutely. And as you get more spacious and more open, a customer or client's objection to being sold your service or your product, it becomes something you can create with. It's something you can let in, understand, and it brings you closer to the customer to listen to that objection, to welcome it. And it creates a better relationship. Now the customer thinks, well, she really understands me, or he really understands me. Let's keep talking because maybe this service would really serve me. And so creating relationships is really what business is all about.
Absolutely. And I love what you're saying there because it's almost like, so when we can stay open rather than closed, because when we close, we're then disconnecting. And when we're disconnecting, that other person feels it. And now we're trying to you manipulate. One of the many things that you said that I love that somehow I can just remember in my head. It's because you've got all these crazy props that you use. But one of the things that you talked about is, this is human beings we're talking to. We're just talking to human beings. It's not like some person from outer space that we have no knowledge of and we're a bit kind of like, how does this work? It's like we are all the same.
Right. Yeah. And the more we're awake to the creative nature of the whole universe and what flows through us if we let it, the other person is no longer a target of opportunity or a means to an end. And their humanity is welcomed in. And when that occurs, we do business faster and we get clients faster and we move our business forward faster by connecting with humans on a very human level. And the great businesses in the world emerge because they understand the needs and the wants and the desires of their clients and customers. They understand the customer better than other businesses do.
Yeah, that's really nice. So I'm just aware of the time and I'm thinking, do you think that gives people enough of a flavour of what the day will be about, or is there something you think we've missed?
No, I think it might. Who knows? But
Someone tell us.
it might. But it's like the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to do that day. But it might give people a little bit of a peek into what we're going to do, how to create relationships. I want to talk when we get together. One of the most exciting things is what to do with complaints. A customer complaint, my own complaint, my business partner's complaint. Do we leave it there so that we have a whole business with nothing but complaints from people where morale is low and my morale is low because I've got these complaints? Or can we create out of a complaint a request of another person? And then can we create out of that request a new agreement? And we're going to look at that as a way to improve our ability to communicate better and our ability to move our business forward much faster.
And I know for me, both personally and professionally, I mean, agreements are one of the things that when you first hear, you're like, yeah, yeah. But when you get really clear and honest with yourself, it's like, oh no, it's mostly expectations that I've had going on. And agreements are just so beautifully, elegantly simple and so brilliant.
Yes. Yes. When leaders in business lead by agreement, instead of leading by expectation, because that leads to confrontation, alienation. In extreme cases, it leads to bullying, and we become distant from each other in the business. We resent each other. We don't trust each other. We even resent our own clients and customers. And it's and that causes for us to not have a very good day. And we want to look at how to access the joy of being alive throughout the business day.
Because that's so infectious, isn't it? I mean, it's just
Yes.
it's wonderful being in a space where that kind of like creativity sparks, and it almost has a life all of its own. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And so hopefully we'll something when we were talking about this event, Steve, we talked about, yeah, it would be kind of like a jamming session. You know, it's like we all get together and it's like, what can we create? And so I know that from the conversations that we've had, that our intention is really to create a space where people can explore the creativity for them, to listen to others, and to hopefully get sparked and get some ideas that they can practically take away and begin to test out in their business beyond kind of like the 4th of May.
Yes, absolutely right.
Wonderful.
You know, I borrowed a main idea from when I was recovering from addiction, which was, I don't know, 30 some years ago. I like to say 30 some years ago, so I'm not saying yesterday. I'm feeling a little shaky today. So they always ran their meetings based on experience, strength, and hope. We're going to share our experience, our strength, and our hope with each other.
I love that.
And those, when that was the heart of the meeting would go really well. It would be really inspiring. So that's my goal for our time together in London, is have our meeting be inspired and inspiring for everyone who attends.
I love that. And so what I'm going to do is that when people are watching this video, they're going to be able to see some details below. If you can't see it, it's because I've not worked out how to do it. And so they'll be able to find the details of how to sign up on your website. And if they've got any questions, they can drop me an email, and I'll put my email address on that. I think that's
Beautiful.
awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I am too, and I'm looking forward to working with you, because I know you're a great coach. You really help so many people in your work, so it'll really be fun partnering with you that day.
My big thing, Steve, is it's like I have to not over laugh at your jokes, because I do find you a bit funny.
They're often not intentional. They're not. I don't even mean them to be jokes. They're just how my life has gone, and I notice everyone's laughing, but that's okay.
Well, there's times where it's like people have stopped laughing and I'm still silently snorting in the corner because I'm thinking that's really funny. So yeah. Okay. On that note, thank you so much for your time.
And yours.